Alrighty, happy Monday to all of you. I'm going to be walking you through the classwork and I'm going to do some formative review type questions for you so that when I come back tomorrow, you all are as successful as possible for the formative. So, to start out, we're going to look at the essential question, which is something that we're going to be looking at quite a bit throughout this book. So, our essential question is, how do social boundaries affect people's interactions with others? Now, all that's asking is, based on people's relationships with others, how does that impact how others act? Here's an example. So, let's say that I have my best friend. Great. Let's say my best friend starts dating someone who I'm not a fan of. I just don't like this other person. Here's the thing, because I'm best friends with my best friend and because I respect my best friend, I am going to try to be nice to my best friend, to the person my best friend is dating. So, the social boundary of my relationship with my best friend, that is going to be the reason why I try to be nice to the person my best friend is dating. So, that social boundary of friendship is impacting my interaction with the person my best friend is dating. That's essentially what it's asking. So, first thing, we're going to take a look at the classwork. We are here in the blue, Act 1, Scene 1. With this, we're going to take a look and read through some of it. I've already given you a lot of information, so most of this is just for you to look over yourselves and get an idea of what it is that's being asked of you. All right? So, on your own, I want you to read through and take a look at the answers that I've given you. Now, just to point some things out, you are looking for characterization and a way to answer the essential question. With characterization, it's like, okay, how would you describe these characters? What type of a person are these characters? And then the essential question, remember, it's looking at how are social boundaries affecting people's interactions with others. Now, I've already labeled for you who belongs to the Capulet family and who belongs to the Montague family. I have it for you. I have a translation of basically what's going down, and I've also given you some of the characterization as well as the connection to the essential question. But like I said, I want you to look at it on your own so you can get an idea of what it is that I'm asking you to do and the type of answer that I'm expecting from you. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do that, and then we will move on to the next section. Moving on in 30. All right. So, one thing that I realized I didn't put in here, my bad, is the act of biting one's thumb. So, in those times, biting your thumb at someone was pretty much like giving them the finger. So, yeah, it was kind of a big deal when, you know, Team Capulet rolls up and then just jumps into, you know, basically giving them the finger. Oh, I did put it in here. Good. Okay. And then they just give them the finger out of nowhere. It's like, come on, man. What's you trying to fight? Because I mean, if someone rolls up on you and they just give you the finger, they're they're probably not doing it for fun or to, as a friendly gesture. So that is all of that. All right. So the next bit I want you to do with the people around you. Put the directions right here for you. Once again, I've labeled the Team Capulet and Team Montague, the two families for you. And yeah, as you are reading through, I want you to answer the questions. And at the very bottom, it's going to have you do something similar to what you were doing, or at least to what was going on up here, which is that after you read through, you're going to provide some characterization for these different characters. So, like, what type of a person are these different characters? One thing I want to point out, the citizens of Verona, these are not people who necessarily belong to either family, the Capulets or the Montagues. Same with Prince Aeschylus. He doesn't belong to either of the families. That's why he's not marked as one of the two. It says 5 sentence minimum. That's not per character. That's just 5 sentences total. So if you have one sentence to say about Benvolio, one for Tybalt, and then 3 for the citizens and the prince, great. Just make sure it comes out to 5. Like 5 real sentences. Don't give me baby sentences. And then lastly, you have the connection to the essential question: how do social boundaries affect people's interactions with others? This one, 4 sentence minimum total. That's all you need to do. And so yeah, just go read through it, answer questions, bing, bang, boom. I'm going to give you 10 minutes on this, which might not be enough time. If it's not enough time, totally fine. You should have time after we get through this whole video to go back and fill stuff in. I just want to make sure you're at least able to start this and that you don't spend too much time on it. So just take 10 minutes now to get through as much as you can, and then we are going to move on to the next thing. But like I said, don't freak out if you don't finish it right now. You'll have time after this video to keep working on stuff that you need to work on. So go through this, 10 minutes, and away we go. You have less than 2 minutes. Moving on in 30. Okay. So, like I said, if you did not finish all this stuff in the green, totally fine. We are going to move on just so that I can make sure you get, oh my gosh, make sure that you get the review in that you need. So, before we jump into the review, just so you all know, every time we do a formative or like, a comprehension quiz, if we can get to 75% or higher as a class average in terms of the score, then we get to watch the parts of the movie that we passed the formative in. So the more formatives, comp quizzes, all that stuff, the more that we do well on as a class, that's more of the movie that we get to watch. So that means if we score under 75%, so even if it's 74%, that means we're not doing a movie that day. We're not going to get to watch it. So make sure that you are staying on top of your homework and the readings. Your homework for tonight, and I'll go back to this at the end, is to read Act 1, Scenes 2 and 3. Romeo and Juliet is very dramatic. And as such, it is full of people who are doing things to other people for a variety of reasons. It could be to get a reaction. It could be to get revenge. There's all sorts of reasons. It could be to impress someone. But Romeo and Juliet is a very people-motivated story. People are motivated by what other people will do or what other people might do. So, while you don't have to do annotations, as you're reading, I would need you to pay attention to who is doing what. So, what are the main things that are going on and who's doing it? If someone's doing something, are they doing it to someone else or are they doing it to impact someone else? And then make sure you're paying attention to why the person doing something is doing what they're doing. The motivation behind actions is super crucial for you to understand. And then lastly, remember, you have tons of resources on both Google Classroom and online and in libraries to help you out. In Google Classroom, in the IR and class books section, I have the PDF for you so you can read the book online. The No Fear Shakespeare, which further breaks down for you like the translations of what's going on. And then I also posted the audiobook for you so that you can hear what it's supposed to sound like. So like I said, tons of resources, and then there's extra resources that are available online and in libraries. Keep that in mind. So we are going to do a review of Shakespeare. This is also in Google Classroom. Feel free to use this as a study guide, especially because you have a formative on this on Tuesday. So make sure you're paying attention. If you like, you can jot down notes, but like I said, this is also in Google Classroom, so don't feel as though you have to rush to keep up. All right, so first thing, iambic pentameter. That is the style that we are going to be reading a whole bunch. So remember, each line is 10 syllables. And it alternates between unstressed and stressed beats. Remember, when it comes between unstressed and stressed, stress is what you put emphasis on. Unstressed does not have emphasis. The first syllable of every line will always be unstressed. Remember, when you are born and you're a baby, your life starts out unstressed because you don't know anything. And then as it goes on, you become stressed. We start out unstressed, then we become stressed, and it alternates back and forth. Next, here's some review on subject, verb, and object. The subject is who or what is performing the action on or towards what or whom. For example, I saw my friend. I is the subject. Saw is the action. My friend is the object. Now remember, sometimes it's helpful to identify the verb first so that you can determine who is performing the action and who or what is receiving that action. So the verb here is saw. I am the one who did the seeing, and the thing that I saw was my friend. The order this pops up in the sentence is subject, and then the verb, and then the object, hence SVO. Now, if we switch that up a little bit, and we wanted it to be VOS, it would be saw my friend I. It can be a little trickier to identify what is what. That's why it's helpful, like I said, to identify the verb, and then go from there. So the verb is saw. It's like, okay, well, who is the one doing the seeing? It's I, and it was my friend who I saw. Now, we know that it's not my friend as the subject because our subject is I, not me. So if it was saw my friend me, which would be my friend saw me, then my friend would be the subject. But in this case, because we have the word I, that lets us know that I am the subject. Another example, the sound was barked at by the dog. So, if we look at the verb, our verb is barked, that is the action. Who or what is performing the action? It's the dog. The dog is doing the barking. Now, what is being barked at? It's the sound. However, we have an interesting order, and in this case, we have the object that's popping up first, followed by the verb, followed by the subject, hence OVS. Last example, she loudly played video games at night. Not every word is going to be a subject, a verb, or an object, at least in the sense that we're dealing with right now. So, our verb is played. Who is doing the playing? Well, it's she. She is the one doing the playing. What is she playing? Video games. Our order, we have our subject, followed by a verb, followed by our object. Next, rhyme scheme. It's just the pattern of rhyme at the end of each line. So just look at the last word in each line. So if you look, the last word is word, and then the next line, the last word is bird. Look at that, word, bird. Those both rhyme, AA. Now if the last word of the line was word, and then the last word of the next line was tree. Tree and word don't rhyme together, so we'd have A and then B. That's our pattern. Stanza, group of lines that form a section in a poem. It looks like a paragraph. So if you see a group of lines that are grouped together, and then there's like a space, and then another group of lines, each one of those chunks is a stanza. Rhyming couplet. This has to do with, with rhyming. It's just two lines that have ending word that are rhymes that are next to each other. So if, our last words are word and bird, because those two rhyme, that's a couplet. But if it was word, tree, bird, free, that would not be a couplet because it's alternating. But when they are together, it is a couplet. Couplet, couple, they are together. Okay. If anything, this is like the most important thing for you to know because there are a lot of questions on the formative that are directly related to this. Remember, a Shakespearean sonnet. It is made up of 3 quatrains plus 1 couplet. 3 quatrains, that's a group of 4 lines, and that happens 1, 2, 3 times, followed by a couplet. So once again, 3 quatrains, so 4 lines happening once, happening twice, happening 3 times, followed by a couplet. So, and it follows this pattern. A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. This is the rhyme scheme. So, our first stanza will be A, B, A, B, and that's following the last word of each line. It's following the rhyming scheme. And then the second stanza will have a new set of rhymes, hence the CD. The third stanza is going to have a new set of rhymes, hence EF. And then finally, there will be 1 couplet. Those rhyme. All right? Make sure you know this pattern. AB, CD, EF, GG. Okay, and I just showed you that. Okay. Remember, the prologue for Romeo and Juliet, we spent a lot of time on that on Friday. It gives us background info about the story. It gives away big events. So it basically tells us this is what you should expect to happen. These are the highlights. Okay? Remember, as we said, the prologue is giving us a preview of what's going to happen. Like when you watch TV and it says, on this episode of, and then it shows you the highlights. Like, yeah, it's kind of spoilery, but the fun of getting the highlights is then you start to wonder, okay, well, how do we get here? How do we get to this point? That is why the prologue exists, okay? All the prologue is basically going, on this episode of Romeo and Juliet, this happens, and this happens, which then makes you, the audience, wonder, okay, how did we get to these different events? How do we get here? That's the point of the prologue. It's clickbait. So, with that said, that is the review for the formative. I highly encourage you to review this stuff. And once again, your homework, you need to read Act 1, Scenes 2 and 3. It's not that long. Pay attention to who is doing what and to whom, and more importantly, why are they doing things? Keep in mind, our class average needs to be 75% or higher in order to watch parts of the movie. So, feel free to help each other out. Feel free to help each other study. We can do this together. With that said, use the rest of class time to either finish up your classwork or to get a heads up on the homework. And with that, I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.